All right, we should be live. Greg, Eric, nice to have you here again.
Everybody. Nice to be here. Always nice to be here. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we have a bunch of things we want to talk about tonight. Yeah, mostly like hobby related, and I guess in particular we want to talk about a fellow hobbyist on Instagram. I guess he goes by bolterjugend.idstein. I don't know if I'm not sure how that's meant to be said, but um, he he's been on our radar for a number of years now, and I think we even mentioned him. Maybe it was back in like 2017, maybe on like notable hobbyists we were following.
Yeah, I think back in that time, and I mean, he was going by the name Fummelfinger, and he has a blog of that name, and he's
Yeah,
done a lot of cool Space Marine conversions, kind of trying to make better looking true scale Space Marines, particularly with a lot of Ultramarines and such. And he's continued that on Instagram, making lots of cool models through sculpting, casting, but more recently he has also transitioned into digital sculpting and 3D printing, um, and has started to create a bunch of files, 3D printable files that you can, uh, I think, purchase and download from. Seems like a website called cults3d.com,
hmm
and he is kind of under this Fummelfinger name there again. But yeah, there's lots of different designs that are just kind of available for people to download and print and kind of explore with them as well. Um, but not having access to a 3D printer, we actually just contacted him about potentially getting some of the prints, and he was kind enough to send a bunch over, primarily Mark III Iron Armor stuff, but as well as a selection of kind of some of his other creations. And we recently got, or actually, I guess it was over this weekend, got some of them in the mail and have been starting to kind of explore and look at them and see what we can do with them. I guess it's probably worth noting also that Paul, he is one of the uh, one of the chief like graphic designers at the 28 magazine. So he's
hmm
one of the people responsible for making the magazine look as good as it does. So that's cool, and it's been a nice way to kind of engage with him a little bit more.
hmm
But so yeah, so we got some of his various 3D prints, and I don't know, I think we were just generally excited about them because I feel now with the advent of 3D sculpting and printing, a bunch of different people and places are sort of making their sort of view of what a true scale Space Marine might look like and
hmm
selling them or just offering the printable files and whatnot. And I feel most of them that I've seen from other people have all looked, there's always like a few things that didn't look quite right about them. And I feel uh these ones are the best in that way, still keeping a lot of like the Space Marine aesthetics, but working with some of the proportions that were improved with like the Primaris and such, but like translating them into nicer looking models with some of these various different armor marks and such, and not being like that nicer scale, not being locked strictly to like Primaris Space Marine armor.
Yeah, I feel I mean, so we've certainly tried our hand at true scaling Space Marines and stuff, using all manner of things from Terminator legs and whatnot, Primaris Space Marines, resculpting stuff, and so it's a tricky balance to get everything in to get everything to look like pleasing and right. And yeah, I think of all the efforts and such that I've seen, these I think are certainly my favorite. Because and one of the things that I think is particularly great about them is the posing. Like none of them have the like standard GW legs spread really wide, crouching or kind of squatting. And so in this case, them just sort of standing at ready or slightly like walking forward, it makes them look a lot more imposing and less comical.
Mm.
And in general, like I think he also did a good job with their feet. Their feet are they're a little flatter and less bulbous compared to like what you typically see, particularly on like GW ones, like in with people try to true scale using Terminators and stuff. I think most of the Terminators, GW Terminators, their feet look a little weird, and they certainly don't look as if they could bend or like
Yeah.
articulate at all.
Yeah,
Um,
I admits these are some of the first 3D printed models I've ever even seen. Like not having a 3D printer ourselves, and
mhm.
like overall I've been was pretty impressed with like the level of detail and just quality of them and how well the stuff printed. I'm not entirely sure what they were printed on,
Mhm.
um but by and large the prints were very good. um
Yeah, it's sort
and
of it really sort of gets me thinking that I should really try and start to try my hand at some more digital sculpting, because like a lot of our efforts have been to redesign and rework the firearms and stuff for the different models. And I think that would be a way to achieve a lot of that in a means that's at least much less fiddly than what I'm typically doing.
one thing though, I guess I admit, like, and I mean, this could change over the years with different resin formulations, but I do feel it is still like a resin, so it's somewhat brittle, and it's working with it. It isn't obviously the same as plastic or
No, yeah, it's
whatnot, so
very
I could
different.
see that maybe being difficult. It's like I feel the type of weapons in a lot of cases that we would want to create would be pretty small,
I
but
mean, that's fair.
regardless, just doing the 3D printing and such, like you have a lot more flexibility to like print at like different scales and sizes to determine like what is like what really does look good here, which I
Yes.
think is nice.
Yeah. Also, yeah, all of that's very true. So yeah, we've at least started to do some work on some of the models that he sent. Eric, you've started to kind of play around with the one.
Yeah, the
Um,
one was just like a Mark V Marine that like almost the entire model was just printed in one piece. Like the backpack was attached and the arms. He has like a cool sort of striding pose, but then just the helmet there. And so I've just been kind of working on that because it, I guess, was quick and like it already has kind of a nice imposing pose. Wouldn't have to go and consider like, oh, how do I want the Marine holding a bolter and things like that. So I thought it would be fun to work on that. So I've done a little with it, like just adding some pouches and such. Um, and for this one, I modified the back of his feet a little bit and like trimmed them down slightly because the design was a little like almost looked somewhat robotic in that there was almost like a toe in the back of the foot, which
Hmm.
I don't know. So I sort of trimmed that a little bit, thinking it maybe looks a little bit better. Whereas I feel the Mark III armor isn't quite it's isn't doesn't do that quite as much, and I don't think is as much an issue. And I know he said he's still kind of working and finalizing some of these designs. So I'm sure a bunch of it will change. And I think that again is a cool thing about 3D design and such like this. Like if you have the files, like he tweak and modify stuff without having to like cut stuff up or get out the milliput and wait for stuff to harden and things like that.
Yeah, I think in general, his designs they very much follow like the notion of really bulky power armor with like kind of often like slightly smaller heads, which I think is sort of kind of what I would say is pretty common in a lot of like the imagery and such.
When having spent some time with the models, I feel it was clear he kind of was balancing the designs from like completely recreating it himself, but to also allowing for interchangeability between other like plastic GW kits. So like he
Hmm.
kind of designed it such that you could just slot in kind of any plastic Space Marine head and it look would look all right. Like so the heads are pretty similar in size to
Yeah,
that, and the same with the hands for them were sort of designed such that the ones you print out are about the same scale as like just a regular, like a Primaris or a Space Marine hand. So
yeah.
I
I
think he is conscious of he wanted the stuff to work pretty fluidly and interchangeably between what was printed and what sort of pieces people might already have. Whereas, like, I think if he just completely did it all himself, like, I could see him having done some small, like, changes to, like, sort of differentiate that a little bit. But I think for most people, just as they are, it'd be like good and very usable
yeah, like I think at
and
least
better than most of what GW stuff has.
yeah, like I feel for at least my taste, I feel I would like their heads to be a little larger. Though I know there are a lot of people who really kind of like that notion of a Space Marine having kind of like a smaller head and really imposing and bulky armor.
Yeah, it's true. And I feel with this one, I think the Mark V helmet here looks fine. I think the Mark III ones, they or at least to me, they looked a little small, like
Also,
smaller.
I think for this one here that we're looking at, it's really only apparent if you look at the model from the side. There, like you can
Yeah, I
kind of
see. Yeah,
tell
yeah.
the head is like a little smaller, but like it looks fitting to me. But so you've like glued some additional like pouches and other gear to his belt. They
Mm-hmm.
also work really well, like the little belts. They have a nice surfaces to glue stuff to the belts, and since they aren't squatting and stuff like that, it's much easier to actually glue the gear and stuff to the
Yeah,
belts. So like that's really nice. Because yeah, all the
yeah.
GW
Such a
models,
boon.
yeah, their legs are spread so wide that if you're trying to glue anything to their belts, it's always a struggle unless you sculpt it yourself. But I also sort of thought since the armor and stuff is a little bulkier, I sort of feel instead of using the standard Space Marine size hands, I think the plastic Terminator hands fit a little better.
Yeah,
Um,
because the arms are so thick and stuff like that. Which
yeah,
admittedly he does have Terminator printable files and such as well.
yeah.
that have and a whole host of nice looking swords and whatnot for Terminators, and I think also for just sort of regular Space Marines. That
Hmm.
excitingly, the swords and such are actually pretty thin,
Yeah.
which is something that GW isn't always great about.
Yeah, they're a lot better now for most models,
That's
not
true.
necessarily for the Space Marines, though.
Uh
Um,
huh.
but I guess related to that, I've been kind of working around with some different components to try and convert some weapons for the Marine to be carrying, where I took some Terminator hands and have like made one holding a plasma pistol and like a smaller, more reserved power sword. And so for the little plasma pistol, this is one of those plastic like Heresy era pistols, and I think I never really thought it looked very good on normal plastic Space Marines, but on these larger, bulkier models, like it fits a lot better.
Yeah, agreed.
And I guess in doing that, Eric, you helped a little bit with this too. Like you added like a front
Some
and rear
sights and
sight
stuff.
to the weapon. I then, in replacing the hand, I cut out like the little trigger guard and everything, and added a new trigger guard with plastic card, and then I added like a little trigger in there.
Yeah, man, it's been a while since I tried to do like little small work like this. Like, and it just makes me respect the stuff you do a lot more again, Adam. Like, cause yeah, wow, it is hard to.
Yeah, it's really fiddly.
I guess I have like I got more recently got a slightly nicer pair of tweezers and such, and I found that they were helpful in kind of positioning stuff a little bit better and whatnot, and it not just
Yeah,
being
so
too
like I've
awkward and things
essentially
like that.
never used tweezers.
Really?
Yeah. And that's mainly because the tweezers I've had in the past are
Or
I
bad?
feel you like drop things. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah.
the tweet I got a set of the tweezers that I think you have from the army
Hmm.
painter. They sell a
Yeah.
set of two. And I have experimented around a little bit with them and they are actually quite nice. The the red one or the maroon colored one, that is the one that I like the best because it has a larger, flatter surface.
That was the one I used, so it's
Yeah.
like less likely to the thing is like the little rear sight I was able to like pick it up and
Yeah.
there was like more surface area connecting to the piece such that it what didn't like just like slip out and
Mhm.
go everywhere because before yeah I had never really used tweezers for something but this at least was somewhat helpful.
Yeah. Well, I also, since I added the new trigger and stuff to the pistol, I also put his trigger finger, I replaced that with an extended plastic finger such that he's not actually pulling the trigger.
So question for you. The hand that you have holding the pistol, what was that from? And was it from a pistol holding hand?
It was
Yeah, okay, cuz like the angle on
is
the
really not great.
yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I did some cutting and reworking to try and make it look a little better, but the yeah, the pistol grips GW sculpts and makes are pretty rough. Particularly these like storm bolters and stuff, like they're pretty bad. And this I like angled it slightly to try and make it look a little bit better, but like there's not
You
a whole
can't
lot
do
you
it.
can do with them. And
Well,
like
and so
there's
that
not even room on those storm bolters, there's like not even room to get like the trigger finger in the trigger guard. Like they're a mess.
well, I find that's interesting because GW has a weird um I don't know, polarity with designing like gun handles in that way. Like sometimes they're like this, that it's like a straight 90-degree angle. But
Mm-hmm.
then if it's not that, it's like weird dueling pistol that's like
Yeah.
yeah. So there's like the opposite way.
Yeah, no, like I feel I did the best I could with what they have, but it's not. I feel ideally it could be better. Um, do I have a picture? And then I also drilled the barrel and inserted two little brass tubes to make a nicer looking barrel. And then you can kind of get a sense of the front and rear sights that Eric you had added in that picture.
Yeah, but I feel for some of the stuff you've like. I guess you made this one plasma rifle conversion
Mm-hmm.
that you put like a front sight, which I think was like a little piece of plastic card that was smaller than this one, but then you on top of that sculpted like a smaller like extension from it. That I don't know. It was so small. I feel that it was kind of hard to see until it was primed. I felt, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think we're gonna. I was just trying to bring up
The
some
fact that you
pictures
had the
from.
patience to even do that is that kind of astounds me because again, it was kind of hard to even see that it's there.
Yeah, you can't really see it in the pictures, but yeah, really tiny. So I
Yeah,
guess
it's
we
impressive.
we can also let me turn on the like little the camera. I think I think we should be good here. Oh, hey Dave, nice. Thanks for joining the stream.
Hmm.
All right, yeah. So here's I just turned on the camera to get kind of get a closer look at some of. I only have one of the 3D prints here. But
Hmm.
here, for instance, here is one compared to one of the my converted Primaris Space Marines.
Hmm.
And so, mind you, with these files here, you could change kind of the scale and the size that you print them. And so, in this case, they're a little bit larger than your typical Primaris Space Marine. Um, and in some regards, I almost kind of like that, particularly with the like this
Iron
iron
armor.
armor, because I always sort of envision the notion that it is really kind of heavy duty, bulky armor to use in the void and other inhospitable
Hmm.
areas, even more so than some of the sleeker like power armor and stuff that some of the other like recon people and such would use.
Hmm.
But so yeah, they certainly look the part. And then you can tell, for instance, this one here, he again kind of has much more of a proper realistic pose.
Yeah, as opposed to even the other one you had there isn't bad, but he does kind of have a weird straddling pose, which
Yeah, it's a little strange. It's better than GW typically does, I feel, but it's still a little weird.
when was the last time you adopted that pose?
Yeah.
No,
Maybe
last
never.
night I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
no,
so here I actually took off the arms to get you can get it maybe an even better look. But yeah, the prints are nice. The posing's nice. Like if you actually like look in to see some of the detailing, you can kind of see some of the webbing and stuff underneath like the armor plating and whatnot. And like a lot of the Mark III armor, they have these like little weird almost like tabard type things. And I feel like for a lot of the GW sculpts, they put those in and around the groin area to kind of distract the eye and make you not maybe as easily realize that the legs are not positioned properly. And so in here, that's
yeah.
not really the case at all because you can actually look underneath that, and you can actually see like the groin armor and stuff like that.
And I feel there are a lot of little cables and stuff, even like from to where the backpack attaches.
That
There are a lot
one
of like
piece.
additional.
Yeah, it's one piece.
That's pretty impressive that there's like the space behind the groin guard and stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, the printing allows for stuff that you wouldn't really be able to do easily in plastic without making it in multiple pieces. And then in terms of like seeing noticeable like print lines and stuff like that, they're very minimal. Like if you look at the top of the model, you can kind of see some hint of them on, yeah, some of the very top of the model, which some of that like you could either sand off, or in some case like in and here where you glue the head, like you're not really going to be able to see that at all.
The Mark V one, there's a little bit of like undulation on the top, and I just with the back of an X-Acto knife slightly scraped at it to smooth it down and got rid of it really easily.
Um, but yeah, so then there he is, and he also made like really tiny ones, which I have one here. And it's quite amazing like how well these ones work as well. Like the details are really nice for these smaller ones. And
They have all the little pouches and
yeah,
stuff.
one thing that's nice about these as well is they have a bunch of like little pouches and like a little sword and whatnot. And they even, in this one, even has like a chapter icon on his shoulder pad. The barrels are not, they're like drilled out for you already, like they were printed like that, so you don't have to drill them, which is
Yeah, no, really
pretty
impressive.
nice. So the little tiny ones are very cute.
Yeah, they really are.
And then in terms of like other things, like they have suitable looking backpacks that fit on nicely. And then
Yeah, they're good.
the different hands and stuff are pretty nice as well. Like they're certainly a little bulkier than your standard Space Marine Primaris or like normal arm, which I think certainly works better and fits them a lot better because they are a little larger. And then yeah, here's one of like the little power swords that he designed that is very thin. And is sized quite well as well. Like it's, and here you can actually see that the hand here is roughly the size of a standard Space Marine hand. And then in terms of like the helmets, like here's one of the printed like Iron Warrior helmets. So like I mean that looks pretty good. I think at least in my taste, like I think I would like it to be slightly larger than that, but like this I think is roughly the size of a standard like Space Marine head, so it's very easy to just slot in whatever you have available.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, here's one of a little bolter.
Yeah, and he just kind of redesigned a bunch of sort of the classic GW bolters, like the Umbra patterns, the Tigress ones, and so forth, to work along with the arms he sculpted.
Yeah.
And most of them are pretty similar to the GW counterparts. Like, if it were me, I feel I would go in and like make some adjustments, like make them thinner and.
Yeah, I almost think these are actually, they're like, particularly if you're looking at them from the top, like I'm holding it here. They're actually, I think, I mean, I'd have to compare it with an actual bolter, but at least from what I can tell, I almost feel as if they're even broader than the standard bolter.
Which that's something that bolters are already pretty broad,
Yeah, so I
but in
feel
a sort of nonsensical way.
the barrel itself is pretty small, so it just has a very bulky outer casing.
Does it have like a magazine release in the right spot and stuff
It
like that?
does. It's like in an area where you could extend your trigger finger and access it to release the magazine. So yeah,
That's good.
he put that on the right side, which is good. And then I think the shoulder pads are, they look to be roughly the size of a standard Space Marine one.
Yeah, no. So I think with all that, like, yeah, if you would get some of the files, you could easily print them and use them with, yeah, just plastic stuff you already have, which is nice. So there's like that flexibility there.
Okay, so it's, if I have this little plasma pistol, so there's, yeah, so that plasma pistol's still pretty big.
You're slightly off focus or like out of, yeah, yeah, no, it's still big. Like, I mean, it works a little bit better here just because the Marines are larger. Like, it looks so bad for like what they were initially released in for like the squatty Mark IV Marines.
Yeah,
Like,
it
it
just
looks
doesn't
just so
work.
ridiculous.
It works okay for one of the Primaris ones, but still looks awkward. What does this look like? Here I have a little beaky helmet. It's hard to keep it. I don't think
I
it's
feel it looks a little small, but I think it's kind of, we said, I think most of the helmets
yeah.
would look a little small.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I guess in that sense, if you really did want to use the heads and you thought that you could probably just print it at like 95% of the size and it would sort of, eliminate that. So, yeah, I think lots of flexibility there.
Yes. Yeah, so they're cool. They're really nice.
Yeah, so I would encourage anyone if they're interested in them to like contact him through Instagram, or through Instagram you can find the 3D files and stuff and print them and whatnot. So I think it's worth it to support what he's doing. And like, he's been doing lots of different sculpts in a pretty rapid pace, so I feel there'll be a lot more from him to come in the future, which is cool too.
Yeah. Yeah, so very cool.
Yeah, and I guess ultimately just want to thank him again for sending some of the stuff. And yeah, we'll keep working at them, and hopefully I can paint one of these as a Dark Angel soon to add to my slowly growing kill team. So that's kind of what I'm excited about doing.
Yeah.
And I think it'll add sort of a nice effect of slightly different scales and sizes of the different Marines in the kill team. So I think that'll be pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it should be. This can clearly be like the leader of the squad. Particularly if he's gonna have a plasma pistol and a power sword. Whoa.
Yeah, no point values in kill teams, so go wild,
Top
right?
of like the great sculpting, he also does a lot of his own illustrations and stuff, which are also
Mm-hmm.
wonderful.
Yeah, I think over the holidays as well, he also was like painting the little covers of little like matchbooks, which is
Yeah,
cute.
no, super talented. Yeah, and I mean, I guess maybe it'll be hard to see, but he drew this little sketch of a Dark Angels that he sent along, which is super charming.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
yeah,
that's really nice.
he's just super talented and nice. But yeah, it's great. And
Yeah,
like
it's
it's a kind of amazing. Like I think he's only been doing like digital sculpting for like less than a year or something.
Wow.
So like yeah, he's super talented. And I think yeah, he's only just gonna get better and better as he keeps working on things um and yeah, it's just so nice that he can like incrementally improve things as he, realizes something like, you know what, like having made some of these additional models, I feel, maybe I'd like to tweak this a little bit and like he can actually do that. So
yeah. No, it's been fun to kind of watch their progress over the years.
kind of makes me want to get a 3D printer, but then no, I kind of don't want it to.
Yeah, I think
I
we right now we have enough other stuff to do and work on that.
I guess if we do ourselves get into some 3D sculpting, it would probably make more sense at that juncture. But
Yeah, that's true. We'll see.
hmm
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I guess ultimately we'll continue to work with these and um update update y'all, maybe do some blog posts or whatnot on what we create with them, so it can keep you updated on on what we've been doing and where things are at.
I guess we should probably invite them on the podcast at one point to just who knows what we discussed, whether it be 3D sculpting or just
Yeah, I feel it would be great to have him on as a guest at some point because yeah, I feel there's a lot of like just general shared interests and whatnot that would be really fun to talk to him. So
mhm.
perhaps more on that later.
Yeah.
Well, I guess with that, do we want to move on to chatting about other stuff?
Yeah, I think we can. I guess
I
there's
know, Greg, maybe you said you might have to go. Is that the
I
case?
should go to bed. But it's been fun, everybody. Good luck. Be well. I'll talk to y'all later.
see you,
Thank you.
Greg.
Yep. See ya.
So I guess maybe we could head over to the Warhammer community site. I know they've shown a lot of stuff. Like we didn't really talk about any of the stuff from the Las Vegas Open. Was that what it was? A week or two ago? Pretty sure.
If it wasn't that, it was another tournament. Yeah.
Well, whatever. I don't know if we necessarily need to talk about a lot of that.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know. In some sense, one of the most like there were some exciting things like they mentioned that there's gonna be a new Necromunda expansion, like the Ash Waste expansion with adding vehicles and stuff. So like,
mhm,
but didn't really tell us or show us any real information. But I feel that's an exciting thing in the sense that they might kind of bring Gorka Morka back in a sense,
yeah,
with
that's
some neat
kind of
models and whatnot. So I'm excited about that. But I guess who knows what it'll actually ultimately be. So like not too much to say there, but like I feel a lot of people have done kind of some neat things along that vein. Like
mhm,
even Tormagito, Alexander Winbury, and Alexander Lunde's
mhm,
uh, sort of community event from a few years back all seems kind of what I would associate with the Ash Waste. So I
And
feel that's
there
exciting.
was the one event at Adepticon a few years ago.
Oh yeah, the Carrion Pass
Hmm.
event that a bunch of people took part in
Yeah,
was
so
very.
very
And
cool.
yeah, hell, that was actually on that was a neck on Necromunda too. So that is like
Yeah.
exactly what.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I
But so
guess
that's exciting.
yeah, and I think on that they also showed some stuff about the next Kill Team release, which at least part of it is going to be with like Eldar Corsairs and pirates and such. And I think that's a neat concept. And they showed, I think, one model that had like a little hunting falcon or whatever that was pretty cool. And I guess this week they've started showing more pictures.
No, yeah,
And
because I feel like the Corsairs were something that was has been a thing kind of in the lore for a long time. That was always fairly intriguing. I mean, hell, to the point that you made the one Eldar pirate, right?
mhm.
That uh, for kind of using some Bone Reaper models and other combinations. So something that other people have been doing, us included. But it's neat to see them using Kill Team as an opportunity to expand and explore that lore again without like
Mhm.
needing to have like a full army or something. Um, and yeah, as you said, they were released kind of the rest pictures of the rest of the models, and I think overall they're pretty good. Um, but they do suffer from the same, I don't know, Eldar proportions and anatomy that we've kind of talked at lengths over the last few weeks with all the new Eldar.
Their
That
poses are awful, mostly.
yeah, and that's really unfortunate
Yeah, I
because I
guess.
feel that their poses are bad. Their weapons are so like ungodly oversized that they look comical. Um,
Yeah, I see. If there's anything, if the big takeaways are it's cool they did Corsairs, but their poses are mostly awful, and their weapons make them look even worse. Like the
yeah.
first one the first model they like revealed was the one with the little falcon, like that had the sword that was too big. That one, the pose is actually nice. It's pretty good. They're not crouching or anything. But from just about all the other ones that they've shown, their poses are really whacked. Like, I guess this is maybe the leader of the squad who has the little back banner and a sword and whatever. Like, the pose is awful. They have their foot up on
They
a rock. Like,
and
that.
like something about that loincloth goes back to like it's sort of hiding the weird pose, and it also really draws you. It's like a path leading up to the weird abdomen and how
Hmm.
truncated it all looks. Like it's like drawing you to like, wow, that looks kind of awkward.
And then the other model in this
With
image,
the this death spinner or
or
whatever
something
they're
like
called,
that.
like the Dark
Like,
Eldar weapon. It looks like he's holding a jet bike. It's so large,
yeah, it looks ridiculous.
basically.
And his pose isn't as bad, but it's still like kind of a little unusually crouched, which
Hmm.
doesn't look great. But
Yeah, it
then
does not.
if we like move on, so here we see the one with the little falcon. That one's nice and has like a reasonable pose. This other one, like holding up the spirit stones, looks okay, except like her legs. Like, what's she doing? Like, no one ever stands like that. I just don't.
Yeah, no, I
Terrible pose. But classic GW. At least she's not standing on a rock, right? So, like, I think if
I
she
guess.
was standing up straight in a reasonable pose, the whole composition would be much better. So
Yeah, like, and it's interesting that she's like holding a soul stone and stuff. Like I feel it is neat that it seems like something else is happening here. It's just not all guns all the time.
mhm.
So like I feel that's kind of neat,
Yeah, I
but
think
yeah, it still doesn't look fantastic.
then moving on, we have one of like kind of a ranger. And this one actually I think looks okay. The scope looks ridiculous on it, but I feel the rifle's a little smaller than sort of what they've done in the past. So they look okay.
The pose is okay.
And the
But
pose is
then like
fine.
the gunslinger here, like
The
the
gunslinger's
widest
laughable.
stance,
Yeah,
so
his
wide.
yeah, the
And
stance is really bad. And then
there's gigantic holsters that I guess they were made large because the pistols are large, but they're still not large enough for those pistols.
yeah, so the
Like,
pistols couldn't even get close to fitting in those. They still look too big. And then the pistols that they are holding, like they don't
it's
look
so
good.
it's really unfortunate because I generally like the designs of them,
Yeah.
but the like the oversized weapons, the lack of a real torso, and the bad awkward poses, like it really spoils something that was on the cusp of being pretty cool.
Yeah.
There's one like kind of warlock type character too, right?
Yeah, so that's this next one. I They look better. So they also have kind of the legs widespread, which is a little dumb, but I think it works a little better here. And then there's
Yeah,
another one with I think that's a blaster,
yeah, the
and
dark Eldar
again, it
blaster
also
too. Oh my god!
looks really rough.
And he's still like, they still have that wide pose. Like they all have that.
Yeah, the one with the Falcon I think is literally the only one that's not like that.
Part of why they're good is because the Falcon is one of the weapons, so it doesn't have a gigantic. I guess the Farseer like warlock character, that little staff looks pretty
hmm
good. But
No,
I
yeah,
think with
yeah.
the large helmet, it emphasizes how like below the pectoral muscles, like nothing's there.
hmm Yeah.
I just
Okay, and then they have one with is it a shuriken cannon or something or whatever, a heavy weapon. And in this, the heavy weapon's too big, but I feel it is scaled and sized a little better.
better.
Yeah,
My God,
and
they have this. All of them have the same pose.
yeah, they have the legs widespread because even well, as a matter of fact, do these have the same legs?
They, I
I
mean, the
don't think they're the
loincloth
same,
looks
but
a
they're
little
very
different,
similar.
but they're so similar. Like what? And then he has that armband sticking out that like perpendicular to his arm. Like who designed these? And like the one with the hood, it's like too cool for school.
hmm
Like almost like a Blizzard design. It,
The daggers look really bad. Like the ones on the waist crossed, like they look fine, and that is more of a believable size for like large fighting knives. What they're holding are now more like swords.
yeah, wow. These it's neat that there are a lot of models, but like they're all kind of bad, and that's unfortunate. The
Yeah,
wind
I
was bad that day. Yeah, it was.
like
Yeah, it
of
was.
them. Like I like the one with the falcon, and I kind of like the farce here.
And the sad thing is, like, you couldn't just get them and replace their weapons. Like, it wouldn't be enough.
Oh, I guess the sniper is pretty good too.
Yeah.
I mean, though, it wouldn't be enough. Like, I think the biggest issue here is if their poses were better, then all you would, then if you just switch the weapons and stuff, they'd be close to pretty good, aside from the fact that they still wouldn't have a torso.
And because they have so much crap on them, like, it would be harder to add, like, a spacer or do any work to improve that, you know?
It's possible that some of that extra shit you can glue on, or you don't have to put it
That's
on.
true, because
So at least with some of the kill team stuff, like the orcs
we're
and
surprisingly
the Imperial
modular.
Guard, yeah, they were surprisingly modular. So at least I think for some of them, like that gunfighter that has all the bandolier shit,
Yeah.
maybe.
Was there did they say what other warband was gonna be in this? And if they
I
didn't,
don't know.
do you think they're just gonna make it like a lackluster thing? Like this one has a lot of options, but the other is just
Hmm.
I could see it just being Primaris or something.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's something cool though.
I would imagine it'll be like the Sister of Battle Tau one,
Yeah.
where it'll be some plastic kit from the past where they've maybe added a sprue to like give you other options.
I could see that.
Yeah, so it's cool they made them. There are aspects of them that I like, but their poses are classic GW bad,
They
and
are.
their weapons don't do them any favors.
They do not. Um were other stuff, I guess, for the Adepticon thing. I guess they revealed some new pictures of the Avatar, which looks pretty good, partially because they're not. It seems like they had more free reign to uh, combat against just the general, like, they just, like, full bore, we're using this Eldar anatomy, and we're just using it for everything, regardless of how things look, unfortunately. Unfortunately.
I guess I'm trying to find the stuff about the Avatar where they showed. I was surprised they actually have a fair number of different options for
Mm-hmm.
the Avatar, like including the classic sword, a spear, and even an axe. Kind of a neat looking axe, and I almost feel the axe was maybe even the nicest of the options,
Yeah, agreed.
partially because it was the smallest looking, which I don't know where it is.
The original post that you had been looking at, the Eldar, at the bottom there was a thing for it, I think. Looking at the Corsairs, I mean, I think.
Uh,
But it's always hard to find stuff.
oh yeah, here, yeah, some of the pictures. Yeah, like I like the axe. Some of the like particle effects, like the flames and the blood and stuff, I could do without that, but
In some sense, I'm not in love with how he's like wide stance. Like it's not as bad as a lot of the Eldar, but
The pose, yeah, leaves something to be desired, but
and the particle effects are kind of yeah. Like the flames don't look great. I mean, admittedly, that would just be hard to sculpt in general. So like and maybe some of how it's painted to kind of emphasize it and make it look like chunkier than maybe it is. But
yeah. Did we talk about the Phoenix Lord?
oh, Morgan Raw,
I
fuck.
sort of feel we did, but maybe we didn't.
We I don't remember. I think maybe we did a little bit, but God, I was really hopeful that the Phoenix Lord, kind of like the Howling Banshee Phoenix Lord, which was quite good,
Mm-hmm.
that this they would have the opportunity to like make a good Eldar model, but no, this is like the
Yeah.
most like dialed up comical Eldar stuff.
Yeah, he looks kind of like the character from Overwatch. Reaper, is that his name? Probably.
Yeah,
Like his pose
yeah,
is
he
really
does.
rough. Again, it's like spread those legs as wide as possible.
We almost reminds me of there's like I mean I didn't really play this, but
Dark
there's like a video
Striders
game.
or whatever.
Yes, yeah, it reminds me of that, like a Dark Strider's character. Like
Yeah.
it's so over the top, and again, he's an Eldar, so he has to have his legs have to be spread wide. He's a Phoenix Lord, so his gun has to be even bigger than all other things.
And then it's not even how they're holding it. It's also like I have this heavy weapon. I'm gonna like hold it out away from my body just to show it off. Hey, look at this, everybody. Look at this. I have this.
Like
And then,
it's weird. Like they literally made this is worse than the Jess Goodwin sculpt. I mean,
mhm.
the Jess Goodwin sculpt is good. I guess I'm just like in the sense that like why was it even done?
I mean, I wouldn't. This is a good sculpt. It's just they they took it too far. And I mean, I
Yeah,
feel
it's well
if
sculpted, but it's a bad design to me
yeah, if
anyway.
well, it's just like the Drazar model as well. He was okay, but again, his legs were spread wide, and he was standing on a stupid looking ruin, just like this dude. And it's also weird, like the weapon he's carrying has like a magazine, like your standard
Mhm.
shuriken weapons, but like look how small that magazine is. Like, why is the rest of the weapon so big? Just for
Yeah,
shits.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
Well, it
it's
just
pretty bad.
emphasizes like the Eldar aren't good at crafting things. Like
Well, I mean, they're so
no
good.
wonder their race was demolished. Like
Yeah,
they have
it's
no technological grace or prowess. Like one chaos god was able to destroy them, whereas humans were kicking around for the other three. I don't know. It's just
yeah, it's bad.
comical.
It's not good.
Feels bad to see.
Hmm.
Well,
Yeah, well, I really don't like them. Like them.
we can probably stop complaining about how
The
the
Shining
Eldar
Spears
were a
are
missed
fine.
opportunity.
They're about what you'd expect. They look okay.
Yeah, they are what you'd expect. They're the sort of thing that they seem like they're like the old ones, like nothing changed. I mean, I assume they are a lot nicer. Well, they have to be because they're the newer jet bike and such. But like,
Well, so one thing that's interesting, I'm looking at the new plastic Guardians down at the bottom in one of these pictures. I guess that is one thing. So most of these plastic Guardians, they have the really wide spread legs.
but a few
But
don't,
a
and they
few
look
don't.
much better.
Yeah, mainly they're like maybe two different ones where they're kind of either running or kind of like striding forward a little bit, and they look better. But yeah, what is it with like those widespread poses? Is it just like they want to make sure they're taking up the entire base they're standing on? Like, why are they
Maybe,
like that?
maybe they put them on 32 millimeters and they just want that.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. Like,
unsupervised darkness, I do kind of agree. The whites are so white, like in a way that kind of is weird looking. Just kind of weird. Yeah, well,
it's also interesting in this picture down here with where you can see the avatar and some of the new guardians and stuff. Are the Dark Reapers in that picture? I don't even think they're the new plastic Dark Reapers. I think they're the older ones. Maybe I'm wrong.
I can't tell. It's just amazing they redesigned all, or like almost all the Eldar. Like they really did a revamp of this stuff, like in something that people have been asking for so long, and they finally did it, and they're all bad.
Mm-hmm.
It was kind of like the chaos they released that they're all just like, what the hell? Why did you do this? Why did you do this? That means it's gonna be another 20 years before they
Mm-hmm.
get new ones of these. It just wow. Ah, well, I don't know. I guess it's just this game isn't for us anymore.
Well, that's not entirely true, but
they don't make models to please us, but I
no, they
guess
don't.
obviously not, but dang. Mm-hmm.
It's rough.
One thing we could touch briefly on is Dave Taylor's artist focused books are almost completed, or like I think they've maybe been printed or something and that sort of thing, to the point that I think, didn't they release the digital versions if people back those?
Yeah, like if you're a backer of the Kickstarter, um, just
Yeah,
either
Dave
this
Taylor's.
morning or yesterday, they gave me access to the digital versions, the digital codes of the books. So that's neat. And so hopefully that means the actual physical printed versions will
Yeah,
be
I I
available soon.
I glanced through the Christopher Keel and Anna one. Um
Yeah.
and they look really good. Like really substantial with like a lot of interesting text, like something that I think I legitimately would like to read,
Mhm.
and not just like rehashing old pictures or something and trying to merge stuff together and spread out, like milk out 100 pages,
Mhm.
like the production values look really good, nice graphic design, like they look really impressive. And I mean, I haven't read through them all and I only kind of glanced at them thus far, but it looks like they really did a service to the people they're featuring.
Mhm.
And so yeah, good on you, Dave. And likewise, great job to all the people who are featured and all the work they did for
Yes.
photographing and all the stuff they wrote. Like I think they will really be a nice piece to people's collection, as well as something that people will be able to learn a lot from.
Yeah.
And all of them are pretty different in what they are focused on as well, which that is neat also. So I think they
Mhm.
will be a good uh, lens or dive into these different artists and how they approach the hobby, what they like most about it, and yeah, so I've thus far been pretty impressed with them.
I'm excited to spend a little bit more time looking at them. And it'll be neat. I'll be anxious to see the printed ones as well. Like, I think they'll be
Hmm.
nice to read that way too.
And I guess since he's had two or at least two other books before this on Kickstarter and such, I feel like he's probably really gotten a sense and to like make nice publications and
Yeah.
like get really what he wants out of it, which is good.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah, and I imagine like if you didn't back it via Kickstarter, I assume they'll be available for purchase
At
down the
least for
road
a
a
little
little
bit
bit.
some
Yeah.
way. Hmm.
Yeah. Hmm. Well, I don't know. Are there other things you think we want to cover, Eric? Or
Um, I don't know. I don't think anything stands out. That was kind of the stuff I wanted to chat about. So
yeah,
maybe we can call this to a close and
get back to hobby stuff, I guess. Yeah, I
yeah,
think
that's right.
maybe I have some other things that I need to do tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I guess thanks everybody for joining us this evening and keep on enjoying the hobby. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yep. See you, everybody.
Over and out.